the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I wanted to add something.
You'd like to add something?
please.
Sure. Okay.
I'd like to add a letter of support for Barrington Recreation Complex. Under, actually for decision, please.
And where did that go?
G.
Any more additions?
I have an in-camera item. I don't know if for in-camera, should I have put something prior? Is there a requirement for 7 days or anything like that in camera? Okay. In camera, yeah. It's a personnel thing, so yeah.
Okay, any more? We have a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Is there any conflict of interest tonight's meeting? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have a presentation tonight from the Economic Development Council for Nova Scotia by Francine Thimot. And make your way to the mic and
Good evening. My name is Francine Thimot, and I am the Operations Manager for CDÉNÉ, Nova Scotia Works. So CDÉNÉ is the Conseil de développement économique de la Nouvelle-Écosse. We are funded through the Department of Labour and Advanced Education. And Nova Scotia Works is a provincial network of integrated services under a common brand. So you will see Nova Scotia Works throughout the province, from Yarmouth to Sydney, and we all offer the same menu of service. We have two objectives. We work with job seekers to obtain and maintain employment, as well as work with employers to assist them with the recruitment and retention of employees. The work we do with job seekers, we help them with three different aspects. First of all, we help them with job search, which is, we talk to them about networking, how to do networking with employers. We discuss labor market information, what's available out there, what kind of jobs are available. We also help them with resume and cover letter writing. And we help them with interview preparation. So that's basically what we do with them regarding their job search. We also work with career planning with clients. So we can explore career options with them. If they come in, the clients, I'm not really sure what occupation they'd like to pursue, we can do career exploration with them. And we can also perform career assessments. So we can have standardized tools that we use to determine interests and values. We also have a career counselor that we contract out her services. Her name is Marie-Louise Dautremont-Gray, and she will do more in-depth career planning with our clients. She has a master's degree in counseling, so when you have a master's degree in counseling, you have more, you can use more in-depth standardized tools to really get down to the root of what type of career they'd like to pursue. And we also work with clients in regards to skills development. If they need retraining, we can look at different funding options that are available for them, and what kind of retraining that they would require. So there is a program through the department, well, it's Employment Nova Scotia, who has the skills development program, and it can fund tuition, books, travel, childcare. So clients who are eligible for that program, and to be eligible, you must be unemployed and on EI or have been on EI in the last 5 years. So we look at all those options. So we basically work with job search, career planning, and skills development with job seekers. Employers. With the employers, we assist them with the recruitment and retention of employees, thereby connecting them with qualified workers recruiting, retaining, and developing their workforce. We can also give them information to access training resources. We can provide them with HR tools, human resources tools, and labor market information and government programs. For the job seekers in the municipality of Argyle, our career practitioner is Dawn Doucette, and she is here today. So she works with the job seekers. Yvette Armstrong is our employer engagement specialist, so she works with employers in the municipality of Argyle. She also works in the municipality of Clare, but she does both areas. Our offices are fully bilingual. Therefore, we offer services in both English and French, oral and written. So we are a fully bilingual center. Our services are free of charge, and they are provided in the utmost confidentiality. And we serve the municipality of Argyle and the municipality of Clare. For the municipality of Argyle, we are located here in Tuscan at the Université Saint-Anne campus. And those are our coordinates. Our telephone number, 648-0573. And the email would be my email, ftimot@cdene.ns.ca. So the next part of the presentation is going to be our services in business and entrepreneurship, and that will be provided by André.
Thank you, Mr. Warden and councillors, for providing us the opportunity to talk a little bit about the services that we provide to the southwestern area of Nova Scotia, in particular the municipality of Argyle, municipality of Clare. My colleague Francine was able to share with you some of the services that are specific to job seekers and employers. And the great thing about the partnership that we have working as a larger team is the synergy we can create. So my name is André Leblanc, and I manage the business services and entrepreneurship team for the Conseil de développement économique de la Nouvelle-Écosse. We serve the municipality of Argyle, the municipality of Clare. We also serve Cape Breton from an office in Saint-Joseph-du-Moine. Just to talk a little bit about the services that we provide. A lot of training goes into a lot of the services that are tailored to, in particular, our business clients. And one of the things that really comes to mind for me in particular is the way we've developed services that are specific to developing business planning. A lot of organizations provide assistance with the preparation of business plans. However, it's more an accompaniment type of service. We'll work with business owners from the beginning to the end of the development of any type of planning required. So be it an individual that's thinking about launching a new business, starting a new enterprise, expanding their services or their product lines or manufacturing, we'll work one-on-one with those individuals in respect to the business planning required for that. We provide quite a few different services in respect to education also, and over the years we've developed tools to assist in a variety of different aspects of the business world, and those are made accessible to our clients in both official languages of the country, so in English and French, fully bilingual, and those can be provided free of charge. We also provide facilitation of networking activity and try to host events that will bring not only entrepreneurs, but as Francine mentioned, one of the important aspects for job seekers is creating networks. So this is a terrific opportunity for us to partner in our services and provide opportunity not only for employers to get together and talk together as business owners, but also the potential of talking to new prospective talent for any roles that they have. We also provide services that are tailored towards not only specific aspects of human resources, But we also partner with other organizations in the community, and in particular, over the past year with not only the team, the Employment Services team under the Nova Scotia Works banner, but also a couple of other organizations within the community to provide specific training around human resource requirements in the workforce. So there's a lot of resource that's available, and I guess that's one of the messages that we'd like to share, is that if you have employers or business people that are looking for assistance in certain aspects, please share our contact information, and we'll be pleased to speak with them or find the appropriate people to help align with the services that they need. We have offices both in Tuscot here at the University Saint Anne campus again, the same location as Francine and her team. And the great thing about that is the synergy that can create within the work environment. And we also have the same space available at our offices in Church Point at the University Saint Anne's campus at the Louis Deveau Entrepreneurship Center. And I'll share with you just a few contact telephone numbers and the locations. Feel free to contact me with anything that you would like to discuss in respect to potentially helping a business owner that you know or that has approached the municipality. Anybody requiring assistance, you can communicate directly with me at 769-3902, or you can also send me an email at aleblanc@cdne.ns.ca. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Anybody from council? Everybody good? CEO?
Yeah, just a quick question, je vais le dire en français en anglais. Comment est-ce que les services en entrepreneuriat ainsi que les services avec les employés, comment ça travaille, comment ça gèle avec le travail du Western Rent? So how does this work? How does it complement or work with the work that the REN is doing? How do you work together in the services that you provide? I realize that clearly the services of employee works and getting employees to, you know, update their resumes and to get them ready for work, that's a unique product, and I don't think the REN does that. But how does that interweave? By the way, it's a good service. We've used your services. I just want to.
Yeah, thanks for the question, because they're terrific collaboration possibilities, and over time we've had the opportunity to work not only with the Western Regional Enterprise Network, but other economic development focused individuals within the community, being at CBDCs or COA, et cetera, et cetera. So the way that we see it is that the development of, let's say, a specific focus when it comes to the activities that a Western Regional Enterprise Network applies within its field, we can complement that, being that we're specifically focused to a specific area within the realm of their, I guess, their service delivery area. So we can focus our activity in particular with both the official languages and the activities that we do in respect to also inspiring youth entrepreneurship within the school system. So there are great opportunities for us to collaborate together, and we do that quite often. Does that help with?
It does. It just is one of the things that one of the services the REN provides is the BRE.
Yes.
The BRE program. Is that something that your employees or staff would be trained in or could be trained in to execute that work?
That's a terrific question. We're actually on their referral team. So we're part of the Executive Pulse program. So as they do their business retention and expansion activities and uncover opportunities, referrals are sent to us directly. Also with the employer engagement specialists under the employment services, under the Nova Scotia Works banner, there are referrals that are made directly. So we can all act together in respect to trying to find solutions to common problems or help with advancing new projects along. So that happens quite often.
So I always get the question, you know, is that duplication? And I guess what I'm going to say is no. And I'm saying that for everybody that's listening is what happens with the rent is you have one person doing BRE, that type of work, which is business retention and expansion work from Digby County to Shelburne County. And then when there's an opportunity, they may not be able to actually grab that opportunity. So what I'm hearing is that your organization can grab those when they fit for you to grab those.
Absolutely. When there's a fit that's targeted, and it doesn't matter if it's one of the team members at the Conseil de développement économique de Nouvelle-Écosse or other team members within the rural referral system, we all end up working together to find a common solution. And sometimes it's a partnership also. There may be more than one person involved in finding what the solutions are. One of the things that we that I didn't mention but was in the slides that we do is also find opportunity for any science-based requirement for advancing projects in the business world. So that can be in manufacturing, that can be in quality control, it can be in a variety of things. So I guess we're linked quite closely with Université Saint-Anne and its research ability and capability through their laboratory. So those are things that often come up for business owners, in particular in today's world, and in dealing with waste products from a manufacturing process. So they're things that we all work together on.
And I'm not, this is more of a comment than a question. You and I have had a number of conversations about business plans that get done by the CDÉNÉ, and the organization might be seen as francophone, but in reality you do a lot of business plans that are both in the English and French language, depending on whether the banks require it. Typically the banks may require it in English, so in fact the work that you do is completely bilingual.
Yeah, that's a terrific comment, because at the end of the day, business owners want to move at the pace of business. And they know that if they have the comfort level of communicating in their language of choice, with the accent of choice that we all have, that they can get their message across. We end up preparing documentation in the language of their choice, which you're correct, ends up being quite often an English document to move either funding requests or expansion requests or other requirements along quicker. And that's one of the, I think, key successes that both our service teams have, either in the employment services side or in the business services and entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Excuse me, we have a question from Councillor Surratt.
I've got a gentleman that called me here last week, and he was looking to set up a business or something, and like he wanted to know about grant programs. So you would be able to pick those things out if there was grant programs in the particular field he's looking at.
That's another great question, because it happens quite often that business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs are looking for funding. They don't know where to go. There's so many different resources that if you plug something into Google, you're going to be spending days and days and days trying to find your answers. What we like to do is to help people find the right people. So we don't have access to funds ourselves. However, we're connected with people that have funding. So we work quite closely with, be it ACOA, NSBI, Innovacor, you name it. We've had contact with any of the organizations that have been dealing with bringing forward either new projects or helping projects expand. And the export market is all part of that too. So we'll help find the right funding partner. And there could be other resources through Divert Nova Scotia, so many different possibilities of finding funding that can be stacked to help projects move forward.
No, to go.
Absolutely.
Any more questions? No, thank you, very, very good presentation. Before we move on, I forgot to mention earlier, we have regrets from Councillor D'Entremont and Murphy for work, and Glenn Digdon couldn't make it here on time from his vacation. So,
Oh, is it? Yeah, it's hard.
wait a minute, Neil.
Um,
Okay, we'll move on to adoption of the minutes for March 27th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Have a mover and a seconder, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carried. Business arising from the minutes. And would you like to speak on business arising from the minutes?
Sure,
Yeah, you.
sorry, thank you, Warden. So just one item that we have listed here is the UNSM Priorities. They had written to us at the last meeting, and we presented, the UNSM's priorities were presented to council, and what they want is an official response. I wasn't sure whether that was made clear at the last meeting or not, so I put it in business arising. I don't know that you want to have that discussion in this meeting. This is the annual meeting, so you may want to defer that again, but we do need to have it before the end of the month. The letter is the letter attached? Yeah, just trying to open it here and I can't. So you can choose to have that discussion now or defer. You can defer it one more time.
Has everybody read the
I've read
letter?
this, I've read it.
As of now, the UNSM or Union Nova Scotia Municipalities are working on 5 priorities listed here: municipal funding, the cap, physician recruitment, internet connectivity, and roads. And on the back of the letter, there's some potential priorities, so maybe councillors can look through those and see if there's anything they'd like to bring to a future meeting, and we could discuss them. They're trying to change the way they do their priority process, because some people felt that enough voices weren't being heard. Is that the best way of summing it up?
Yeah.
So they don't want hundreds of them, but they would like to have a few strong ones, So, yes, go ahead, Councillor Surratt.
Yeah, I guess I see where I missed something. Please note, we have not included the current 5 resolution topics as they are already a priority. Oh, that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
So I thought I had to pick the 5 top priorities, and which I did, but I'll just stick maybe to one that I'll go to my number 1, which was number 9 on our list, which I'd like to move to number 1. If it was myself sending the letter, it would be the EPR and solid waste. If we could really push that along to get government, I mean, most of the provinces in Canada have passed legislation to adopt this, and Nova Scotia and just a few other ones are not in tune. And I find that from Waste Check, Gus Green was telling us that more than likely people like the craft people and the craft RAFT that makes mac and cheese, and they probably got a quarter of a penny on the paper box that they're charging. In most of Canada, you can be guaranteed that we're paying that quarter of a penny down here too. I mean, they just can't. So that's one priority. I would like, one of the things that I'd like to, move on the list. I mean, others may have some other suggestion, but just stick to another. If they've got 5, I don't want to give them another 5, but I certainly won't want to move down. That's my intention.
So how would do we want to deal with that? Is a priority, like, do we want to put it to, you want to send that to you?
Right, I would, if council agrees. Maybe council might have another one that we'd all agree on, and I'm game. I'm just
Okay.
giving my 10 cents.
So we can start with that one, and if anybody has any more at the next meeting, bring them.
Okay,
Would that be a good way to deal with it?
fair.
Okay, so we can deal with the one you brought forward and send it in, and
Thank you.
What we can do as well from staff's perspective in preparation for that is we can give a little bit more information around what the impact might be to you. So for instance, EPR, we had that extended producer responsibility. It was quite clear that it could have a potentially very large financial benefit to us. And not just us, but across the province. So, compare that to, maybe a small additional cost of policing costs due to cannabis. It could be small, it could be medium, we don't know. So we can take a deeper look into some of these, and if you have any comments by all means, give us some idea of what we're looking for. But if we will look at EPR as a number one, and if anybody else has any other discussion now, we can prepare some more information for next meeting.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
No. Anybody else? Okay, so we don't need a motion on that, or do we?
Not at this time.
No.
Perhaps just a motion to defer to the decision to the Committee of the Whole in April.
So moved.
All those in favor? Against? Motion carried. Moving on to councillors' reports, so we'll start at this side. Anything, Kathy? Or-
Yeah, I just mentioned that I did attend the joint council with the 3 municipal units, and I did attend the Lower East Pumlico Wharf Committee. They're doing a project to extend the wharf. They have a project going, and they've met with Colin Fraser last Friday. They've got a good project, good strong project on the go, so I just wanted to mention that they're on that. That's it.
Councillor LeBlanc?
No, not this time.
Nothing this time. Councillor
No,
Sir?
the meeting that I went to, that's fine.
Councillor Nicole?
Other than the joint council meeting, last night I attended the Barrington Municipal Committee of the Whole meeting. I attended a presentation at the meeting, which I'm going to talk about later.
Okay. And the warden's report. I attended a meeting in Bridgewater, the Nova Scotia Canadian Offshore Petroleum Board. They're the organization that sets the regulations for exploratory drilling. So it was very informative. I learned a lot that day. And other meetings that we all attended, Priority Workshop, Yarmouth Aerial Industrial Commission, Kathy mentioned Joint Council. Me and Danny attended affordable housing meeting. Another offshore oil meeting in Shelburne to get the opposing view of the petroleum board. And Buptic Festival planning meeting, waste check, doctor recruitment. And here we are tonight at the annual meeting. That's my report. The next one is the CAO's report, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Muse.
Thank you. I'll go very quickly over just a couple of things. The provincial department responsible for aquaculture paid a visit to us to pitch a concept where the province would take a lead on the lease of an aquaculture site. It's a lot more complicated than what I just described, but anyway, it was a real step in a positive direction. It was a confidence, a tick of confidence, I think, that we could actually move quickly on this item. There's obviously we already have oyster development here in Argyle, and that we have been gathering all that information over the past couple of years has put us in a position where we can quickly move on a number of initiatives. So there's a couple of initiatives that we're looking into. One would be confidential to the actual industry person, and the other would be just again trying to develop the industry of oyster development, I guess, in the area. So there is more information to follow based on the shared work we're going to move ahead with. There may even be an application to a COA to support a longer-term project of a regional significance. So we'll keep you posted. That sounded really cryptic. I just wanted to let you know that there is work coming in on the aquaculture side of things. There was a recent announcement for funding that we just got today. It's not in the staff report, but it will be on the Committee of the Whole. It's a bilateral agreement between the federal government and Nova Scotia for infrastructure. Yeah, it's a massive amount of money, but it's over a long period of time. But it supports much of the infrastructure projects that we have. But I mean the details of which are not really known to us just yet. The septic tank project in Wedgeport's almost done. Phase 2 that is. There's the 2 last tenders have been issued. Municipal admin building, Wild Salt, and the staff are currently working on the FCM funding application, so that's well underway. and the tender will be delayed as we had noted in the last month at the last month's meeting. However, Wildsalt did reach out to the big three contractors, and they received pretty solid assurance that they were eager and ready to bid, even if they're a little busy, and in some cases a lot busy. They're looking forward to bidding this job. So that was one of the concerns about being not quite when we said we would, but I think people knew it was coming. So priority setting, we have one more meeting, or one other step to finalize priority setting with council. Some information that we owe you in order to finish that work, and that will be done prior to the 30th of April. And the airport, a lot of just ongoing matters regarding funding requests, and we're in full rental mode with the production company. And the answer to the question I receive most is I have not seen Willem or Pattinson yet. Every time I talk about the airport, somebody says, "Did you see them? Did you see them?" But I did see that Willem Dafoe purchased groceries at Sobeys. That was Facebook.com. I don't know if you know the site, but that's where I saw it. It has been in the news recently. Yes. Yes. So the issue of extended producer responsibility was something that was raised earlier, and in our meetings with the Association of Municipal Administrators, we've raised that as an issue that will be brought at our next meeting as well. So we think that it requires additional people involved to push, not just the regional chairs of waste. It's one thing to hear it from waste enthusiasts, but it's another thing to hear it from multiple locations. So anyway, so we'll see how that goes. We know that that's a provincial decision, and that's a lot of work on auditing and year-end that has occurred, and the rest of the report has been in your hands for a while now. I'll stop there and ask if there are any questions.
Councillor Mead?
Just a quick question on building. So, does it look like we're going to be able to put that out tender at the end of April? Or is it going to go a little later?
It might be a little later than the end of April. My understanding is that they're still aiming for.
Yes.
But I think they'll have it open for quite some time, because they're anticipating having a meeting with the contractors, with the general contractors, prior to issuing the deadline. So I think that it might be open a while. I mean, it's a big project after all, but they plan on having interviews prior to the closure of the tender date. Yeah, I don't have the dates exactly right now. Yeah.
Councillor Surratt?
This pertains to your report on it pertains to the airport, and there's been quite a few of the kids at the PED that come around the garage been asking me if there's a way they could have if it's possible to have a tour of the building where the sets are. I said, I don't think you'll be able to ask the CAO at the meeting, at our next meeting, so there's no such thing as tours that they did that time. I said, I doubt it, but
I mean, you might get a tour of the terminal and not see much. No, I'm not sure that they would allow that at this point. No, they're pretty, and there's some privacy associated with the filming as well. So, but anytime we've asked them for media, like if there's media requests, or if, say, Charlene wants to do Facebook Live, they've been pretty, the response has been, well, we can't right now. So maybe as time goes on.
Yeah.
So
the kids
keep them posted.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Tell them to hang out at Sobeys.
Absolutely.
Okay, is that your report?
That's it.
Thank you, very informative. So now, this being the 138th annual council meeting, we've got some yearly housekeeping to do. First one is appointment of auditors, and we have a proposed motion. Somebody,
I move that council approve firm Grant Thornton LLP as auditors of the Municipality of Argyle for fiscal 2018-2019.
Second.
A mover and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. The next one is appointment of solicitor.
I've thought a lot about this, and I've been looking at it strongly and have really tried to consider, and I guess I will make a motion that council approve the firm of Downton Boudreau as solicitors of the municipality for the fiscal year 2018-2019.
Second.
We have several seconders.
All kinds of seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
I can assure you I won't take it for granted despite the hilarity. Thank you very much, Vicky.
Okay, the next one is council remuneration, non-taxable portion. As you know, over the years, a third of our salary is tax-free, deemed as home office expenses. That's available for one more year. After this year, that is not an option anymore. So, but we still need a motion for this coming year of 2018-19 fiscal year.
Slow move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Appointment of officers. Okay, we got a whole list of them. We have the fire ward, we have the EMO coordinator, building officials, development officer, bylaw enforcement officers, fire inspection, dog control, and there's the list that goes with them, and we have a proposed motion.
I'll move that council approve the enclosed list of appointment as officers of the municipality of Argyle for the fiscal year of 2018-2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Next one is membership with the Union of Nova Scotia Municipalities and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for 2018 and 19.
I move that council approve the membership with UNSM and FCM for 2018-2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, now I gotta try and catch up where we're at here. Number 14, strategy priority topics. CAO, LMUs, we have no attachment.
Nothing at this time. Just go right into for decision 15.
15A. I think you're up, Neil. Mr. McKenzie?
I wasn't following along.
YASTA core funding request.
So hello everyone, thanks for inviting me to come speak to you tonight. For those of you in the room that don't know me and those that may be watching at home that don't know who I am, my name is Neil McKenzie and I'm the Executive Director for the Yarmouth and Acadian Shores Tourism Association, YASTA. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight, and I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible, but I can be long-winded, so I'm sure Key or somebody will cut me off and keep me moving along here. I'm going to start the presentation tonight with a quick 1-minute video, and then we'll be off to the races. Let me restart that, sorry everybody. I'm assuming most of you have seen that. I've tried to put it everywhere, so if you haven't seen it, I always like to start with that because it's a good way to kind of show you our regional approach. Obviously, that video leverages the Starlight designation and really pushes on that. It features content from Trout Point, Wedgeport Trail, Cape Shoe Light Station, areas around the region that offer opportunities for viewing the night sky. And that's one of our main focuses. Our tourism destination management plan, being off topic here, but just was completed last week. I'll make sure you all get copies, and one of the pillars that was identified in that plan was also starlight, stargazing as the opportunity for tourism. So before I move into 2018, I want to quickly go over some of our tourism indicators that we had for 2017. And for those of you that don't know, 2017 was a great year for tourism. So in 2017, Nova Scotia's tourism industry had its best year in history and its 4th consecutive year of growth. In all, a record 2.4 million visitors came to the province in 2017, and tourism revenue for 2017 is estimated at $2.7 billion. It's a lot of tomato can wrappers. Nova Scotia welcomed an additional 195,000 non-resident visitors in 2017, and this was an increase of 9% over 2016. This increases in visitation were also observed across both road and air. I don't have it in the quote here, but we did receive a 10% increase in visitors from the US as well last year, 17 over 16. In 2017, licensed room nights sold in Nova Scotia totaled 2,760,000 and increased by 2% compared to 2016, and the occupancy rate increased by 3% to 55%. Looking more at Yarmouth and Acadian Shores now, this is the entire region, so this is counting everything from East Pubnico all the way to Clare. These are provincial numbers. In 2017, licensed room nights sold in Yarmouth and Acadian Shores was 68,000 and increased by 4% compared to 2016. The occupancy rate, meanwhile, increased by 2 percentage points to 47%. The Yarmouth room levy had its best year since its inception. Does everybody here know what the room levy is? For those of you who don't know, quick how it works. The room levy is a group who manages money that is collected on every room night sold in the town. It's a bylaw that's actually enabled for the town and for the municipality of Yarmouth. There is no bylaw in Argyle, but the bylaw states that any property over 20 rooms or more will collect $2 per room per night. That money is then put into a fund. It's managed by the town, but the committee, MPAL, actually controls where that money is spent. MPAL has decided to be a full partner of YASTA. They have 3 seats at our table, and because the goals of collecting that levy are to generate room nights, and obviously that's one of the main metrics that Yarmouth and Acadian Shores has as well. So there's a natural partnership there. So when I say the Yarmouth room levy had its best year since its inception, I'm not sure the start date of Yarmouth and Acadian of the MPAL, but I believe it was probably 2008, approximately 2007, 2008. And they collect $2 per room. It's not a percentage, it's just a static rate. And revenue per room is going up, so they're getting actually more dollars per each room they sell, so that's a good indicator. But even with the issues with the ferry last year regarding the engine, we still had one of the best years on record, so that's really good, a really good indicator.
Neil, 47% occupancy rate, do you think that's good?
It's not bad on average for the province, so it's averaged over the whole year for Yarmouth and Acadian Shores.
Over the whole year,
Yes.
not the summer?
No, so for example, August was 75%.
Yeah, okay, very good.
And same thing for Halifax. Halifax is probably higher than 75.
Yeah.
Good luck getting a room in August or July. In 2017, licensed room nights sold in Yarmouth and Acadian Shores was 68,000 and increased by 4% compared to 2016. And the occupancy rate increased 2% points to 47%. And the room levy had its best year. So that 47% is a little bit below the provincial average, which was 55. But again, I think speaking with regards to the ferry, I think we ended up pretty good. For the last 2 years, YASTA has also participated in digital marketing campaigns in partnership with Tourism Nova Scotia. The 27 digital marketing campaigns surpassed the 2016 results. One of the metrics we used to measure, and one of the goals of the program last year was to make sure we were driving traffic to our operator sites. So if you want an accommodation or a tourism experience, or you're offering a hotel, the metrics we would use, one of the metrics we would use would be how can we make sure that we're sending traffic to those operator sites so that they can close the sale, they're getting the real valued leads. And last year we were able to, was the first year we started measuring that because we were able to get stuff implemented on our website, but we were able to almost send 1,900 leads to operator sites, and of that 1,900, 580 were actually to ferries.ca, which has obvious benefits. As part of our digital campaign, we also ran Facebook targeted ads. So we're on, in 2017, the number of Facebook video views we were over 12,000 in the New England market and over 28,000 in the Canadian markets. And Yarmouth and Acadian Shores Facebook ads also reached over 175,000 people. Looking into 2018 now, are there any questions over 2017? Anyone else to throw at me? In 2018, looking at that now, I'd like to speak a little bit about our plans to promote our destination to prevent potential visitors. Yarmouth and Acadian Shores targets in key market targets. The work we target is in key markets, including the U.S., specifically New England and Northeast U.S., Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada. We're only able to reach these key markets through strategic partnerships that enable us to extend our marketing reach and our impact. For 2018, YASTA will be partnering with ACOA, Bay Ferries, Experience Acadie, Tourism Nova Scotia, TIANS, which is the Tourism Industry Association of Nova Scotia, and Tuscan Board, just to name a few. And of course, YASTA also partners on an ongoing project-by-project basis with operators. So it may be room nights, it may be tours, it may be tourism, media, all those things we partner with them. And forging strategic partnerships not only allows YASTA to compete in these markets we would normally not be able to reach, but it also leverages our partners' investments and delivers more for your investment. So it's a better return on investment when we leverage our dollars. YASTA will be participating in the following marketing efforts in 2018. If I break it down into online, the goals of the online marketing are to create online awareness for Yarmouth and Acadian Shores using video and social media content promotion. We will also support the awareness tactics and with search marketing, so those who become aware can easily find out more about our destination and actually act. So either book a room, book an experience, etc. Our online marketing includes managing our digital content and creating engaging digital content for use on the following marketing channels. Yarmouth and AcadianShores.com. You all should be familiar with that. NovaScotia.com, another one as well. Ferries.ca, DiscoverAcadie.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We do email marketing as well. YASTA will also be participating in marketing campaigns that will include partnerships with Experience Acadie, Google Canada, and Tourism Nova Scotia, and potentially a campaign with Bay Ferries as well. These digital campaigns will use proven tactics including Google search, keywords, Facebook, Instagram, display ads, and YouTube pre-roll videos. So those 15-second videos you might see when you click on a YouTube video, if you had just searched, if you were just looking for a hotel room in Yarmouth and Acadian Shores, we're going to serve up some of our content to you to try to keep you interested in the content you're looking at. So. As always, YASTA will be also working with partners such as Tourism Nova Scotia and Experience Acadie to develop new digital content to populate these online channels with new and engaging content. The content will include new photography and video. Last year, in partnership with Tourism Nova Scotia and the Inspiring Content Program, we were able to capture this amazing image of the Yarmouth waterfront. And this image has been chosen as the cover for the Doers and Dreamers Doers and Dreamers French guide for Nova Scotia. So they offer as many as the English guides, but this is really, I know that, for example, it's approximately $8,000 a page in inside pages for Doers and Dreamers advertising. So this is really great coverage for all of us, and it's a really great thing to get. And it shows the investment. If you make the investment in digital content, you can get lucky sometimes. So. One last thing, in addition to the digital content we're going to be doing, we're also going to be implementing a new program on our website. We're just doing that now. We're in the process of uploading that and onboarding that whole system called CrowdRiff. CrowdRiff utilizes user-generated content. So one of the main metrics on any website, usually, and if any of you have children and they're on Snapchat, Snapchat is specifically designed, for example, to keep users on the app. It's called time on site. It's a metric that every app or every website uses. It's kind of the holy grail. The longer someone's on your site or using your app, the better your metrics are going to be. And a lot of that is related to the engineering of how the app's designed. But with our website, one of the things we're trying to grow is time on site. The longer that they're on our site, the deeper they go into our site, the more likely they're going to click on an operator and then book an experience or a hotel or or something. So we've implemented this new program called CrowdRiff. Destination Cape Breton is using it, and what it allows us to do is post user-generated content, things from Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, on our website, and then the user who's on our website actually engages with that content on our site rather than on social media channels, where we can then serve them up, content that we want to give them, right, rather than have them leave the site. So we have I'm excited about that program this year. Another thing we do is travel shows and travel trade. In 2018, Yarmouth and Acadian Shores will be at the following trade shows, and some of these we've already attended, obviously. Boston Globe Travel Show, AAA Boston Travel Show, Rendezvous Canada 2018, which is coming up in May. Rendezvous Canada is a travel trade show. It's not a consumer show, so the people that are coming in there aren't consumers. The people that I'm going to be meeting with at the Rendezvous are actual tourism buyers. They're actually looking for experiences that they can purchase, because they're going to actually go back to their countries and sell it. So this is a real international market. It's a lot to learn for me. Another thing we're doing is, back one more step. We also do print marketing and collateral and produce this content in-house. Certain things such as Tourism Nova Scotia's Doers and Dreamers content, pages and co-op pages. Yarmouth and Acadian Shores activity guide in both French and English. We run a 68-page guide, fully translated in French and English. We also run our website fully in French and English. We produce trade show material and lure and marketing pieces for trade shows. And we also produce marketing collateral for Living Wharves and Music of the Bay and other programs that we run. A couple last things here. In 2018, we're going to be working with some travel media and some social media influencers. Each year, YASTA works with the province and Bay Ferries to bring travel media and social media influencers to our region. And we've worked with Portland radio stations to bring radio personalities here, as well as other organizations that will experience the region. This year, we'll be hosting travel media from Rendezvous 2018. Some of the media is actually going to be coming down after the conference, so that's a good thing. That's partnered with Tourism Nova Scotia. I believe some of them are actually going to the Village. And we've also worked with past social media influencers such as Hectic Travelers and Delightful Travelers, all who have over 100,000 of followers on their social media channels. So it's a good thing to get covered on. YASTA also works with industry operators to try to enhance their visitor experience while they're here. And we also facilitate familiarization tours, frontline staff training in both Yarmouth and Portland, and Bay Ferries crew familiarization tours of the region. This photo here was actually taken last year by some travel media that we had partnered with Bay Ferries to bring into the region, and they actually took the cat, documented the trip, produced videos, social media stories, content, and also produced some digital great photography like this one here. So
That's Lower Argyle, by the way.
that's
Old Argyle or
Jonathan Joseph's place. Yep. One other thing that we do is we do visitor servicing. So Yarmouth and Acadian Shores we have a VIC. I don't know who might not know this, but we have a visitor information center in partnership with Bay Ferries on the actual ship. We hire the staff and train them and manage that process, and that's a 50-50 partnership with Bay Ferries. So it's a really good thing because we're able to place not only create some jobs related to tourism in our area directly, but we're able to really influence the content of what those visitor counselors are offering people. So we can help book rooms, we can help book experiences. All those things are really good because those people are generally from here and they know the landscape. This is a picture of some of our, this Susan is our staff person, one of the staff people on there. I'm not sure who that guy is. I think he's a crew or a passenger, but he ended up in the picture. Visitor information shown on the cat. We also hire 3 students who work in the VIC, and so it's a really good experience, and we're looking forward to it this year. Last year we invested in some digital screens in partnership with a program we were running with a co-op, and actually we're able to place iPads with cached websites from our region, novascotia.com, camping.com, or camping.ca, sorry, our website, things that visitors could actually use and while they're on the cat, because we have them for 5.5 hours, or it can be longer at times. We also have a mobile VIC, so in partnership with Tuscan Ford, actually, we've done this 2 years in a row. YASTA has summer staff also operate a mobile VIC in the summer that attends events and visits attractions and experiences throughout the region. We try to go where visitors will be and help counsel them to extend their stay and answer questions they might have. And this partnership is supported by Tuscan Board, obviously, and also tie-ins. Tourism Industry Association supports us financially to run this program. Moving on to 2018, looking at product development and new experiences for 2018. Another initiative that YASTA undertakes is product development. So we work with operators to help develop new tourism experiences, or we work with them to enhance existing ones. So that visitors will stay in the region longer or have more experiences to choose from when they're here, which we know generates room nights. New or enhanced experiences for 2018 include Savor the Sea. So this picture here is a picture we actually ran a test last year in November. It was a really cold day, but the light was really good. But so we did it anyway, and we ran the test with Simon, who is going to be operating a Yarmouth Harbour Tours this summer, and we're really pleased to see that. This also partners with. So this tour is a tour where they would get on the boat in the town of Yarmouth. They do a quick hour tour of the Yarmouth Harbour. Then they dock at the Yarmouth Bar, and they're going to be treated to a full lobster dinner with local craft beer, wine, all the fixins. It's great. There's actually going to be some music, some entertainment. It's a really good experience. I'm really pleased to see that. This also is going to happen basically at Cape Purchou, but it's going to be kind of done through Jonathan Joseph and Keeper's Kitchen, and it's going to be more of a fish fry type of thing. So it's really good. We've also enhanced our Music of the Bay programming and our Living Wars program with other home marketing and other product enhancements. And we're also going to be offering an extra day for our Yarmouth Foodie Tour this year. Our Yarmouth Foodie Tour usually goes 2 days a week. Now it's going to be going 3 days a week related to demand. Nancy LaCosta with East Coast Paddle Company. She operates a stand-up paddle experience and has offered multiple experiences around the region. She's also going to be offering a new experience called Paddle and a Pint, not at the same time. But we're really pleased with that too, because it combines craft beer and getting people in nature. So it's all those good things. So. And of course, I already mentioned, this is another picture we captured last year of the harbor tour. So they were really, really cold, but the light was right, so I made them keep taking. Took about 80 pictures at that moment. But anyway, this is the type of content we like to produce, and this is the kind of stuff that we do with operators to try to make sure that there's great marketing content so that we can actually help sell them and actually do that. So the harbor tour is going to be a great experience. In 2017, we also saw the development of some craft breweries. YASTA can't take credit for this, but we're definitely going to leverage that opportunity. So we're really pleased to hear that there's not only craft breweries, and one is expanding, and Tuscan Falls is doing great. We now are going to actually have a company called Beer and Wine Tours in Nova Scotia is actually going to be operating a craft beer tour. So they've purchased a van. You're going to be able to get in the van, pay a purchase, and then you're going to go to Heritage Brewing, to Tuscan Falls Brewing, go to Rudders, and we're combining brewery tours with beer and tastings, and you talk to the brewmasters, and it all ends with either a lobster dinner here at Rudders or one at the Argyle or at the Lighthouse. So another tourism experience related to economic development, such as a craft beer brewery, right? So it's all good stuff. And lastly, I wanted to show you one last new experience. I don't know if any of you have seen this as well, but Tourism Nova Scotia operates a program called the Accelerator Program. So the Accelerator Program, what it does is, Tourism Nova Scotia has identified through their research that they say, okay, the markets we're targeting, these individuals are looking for certain types of experiences. And if you create these experiences or enhance ones that you're already doing, and they align with the market that we're trying to attract, we'll help you market that. We'll come down, we'll create some video, we'll create some photography, we'll help develop your experience so it aligns better with Nova Scotia brand. And then the benefits of that is that Nova Scotia will now sell it for you, more so than if you would create something that doesn't necessarily align with their brand. So if you play ball with them, you're going to get some real benefits. The Accelerator Program, we were successful last year with this program that I'm going to show you here. And this year we've applied for 3. I believe Tuscan Island Tours has applied for 1. We've applied for 2 more under Savor the Sea, under the Yarmouth Bar experience, and 1 at the Lighthouse as well. So hopefully we'll get 2 or 3 of those, and we'll have more content like this to show you next year. So this is that's a great video. The program also has photography and other marketing. And Tourism Nova Scotia is already pushing this content out to their markets. And I've seen it a lot, and so there's a real benefit in doing that. There's a real benefit in partnering. So this is a lot of what we do. Thank you. I haven't brought the budget items, but I believe your CIO has presented the budget to you. I can answer any questions regarding the budget if there are any, or any questions regarding this presentation tonight.
Councillor LeBlanc.
Not that it's crazy relevant or nothing. Just curious why last year your summer staff cost you 0 and this year you have projected just north of 14.
When we looked at the budget item that you're looking at there, we don't have all of the total number for salaries. Everybody's in there. So the staff, the summer staff is in there, the full-time staff and the staff on the ship. We haven't broken it out yet.
Oh, okay.
We will at our year end, and I can
Gotcha,
present that for
gotcha.
you too. Yeah, exactly. We'll show a big gaping hole at 0, and then next year we're gonna have.
Right. And just out of curiosity, your revenue from oh dear, what was it exactly? Your revenue from projects, it said, or something like that was like 30,000 more this year. You're anticipating anyway.
Yep. So
Any reason?
Yep. So you're asking about why that?
Why does it look better this year? Yeah,
Sure.
just curious.
So last year we had budgeted, we were, in our revenue from projects, we were budgeting a certain amount to come in from a COA, and that project wrapped up March 31st. Or actually it wrapped up in this, just in the second quarter of last year. But this year we also received funding from a COA for our tourism destination management plan that wasn't budgeted for. So we had budgeted for costs from our partners to fund that program, but we hadn't been approved for the funding from a COA at that point. And so that's why there's more revenue coming in than we had budgeted this year.
Okay.
So that project's about, COA is contributing 25,000, and Tourism Nova Scotia, we're getting, sorry, not Tourism Nova Scotia, we're getting another 5,000 from the province as well for that program. So you said the difference was 30,000?
Ish, yeah.
I think the other 5,000 is the 5,000 we received from Communities, Culture and Heritage for our Sea to Stars program that we ran in the fall last year.
Gotcha.
That again was an application that we didn't know we were gonna get at the time I had presented the budget last year.
Right. Cool.
Yep.
By the way, nice videos, like really nice videos. They're awesome.
Thanks.
Any more questions? Seeing none, thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
We'll be,
Very good presentation.
Yes.
Very good.
we'll be dealing with this at our next meeting. It'll be the start of our budget process. So,
Yep.
okay?
Okay.
I'm sure you'll hear him plenty of
Available
time.
anytime. Answer any questions.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And we'll move on to 15B, Yarmouth Amateur Radio Club trailer purchase request. I will read through all that. Is there any comments you would like to make to the ALMUs?
Just that we've received the request fairly recently, so we haven't really had the occasion to go through any sort of like disposal process. Typically what we would do is we would look to see if we required it in our own departments, if we required it, and then if that's a no, our practice has been to reach out to fire departments and other similar organizations. Now, you could argue that the amateur radio club, you know, is not far off in terms of delivering a certain service to the community. It's not a direct municipal service, as the fire departments would be, but certainly a community service. It's a non-profit organization, so really, one or two ways we can address this, and I would recommend the first method would be first for staff to examine our options for internal use, and then outside of that, if there's nothing, then we would enter into negotiations to sell to the amateur radio club. Alternatively, as a council, you can, if you're satisfied that, you know, that there's no use from your perspective for the mobile trailer, then you have every right to pass a motion to enter the negotiations directly. Because there's no policy that defines how this is dealt with at this time. So, absence of policy, you're in control. So that's basically the two options. And I know that so for those of you who are less than familiar, the mobile trailer was the trailer that was attached to Dr. Loveridge's office, which he's no longer using, and that was put there initially to accommodate a resident, a doctor resident.
Is there any, can you think of any reason why the municipality here, ourselves, would need that trailer? what could we use it for? I mean, we're gonna have storage at the new building, we're gonna have, you know, is there, I know it was discussed at one time, something about the EMO, but, as a, maybe a mobile trailer or something, but that's not a good.
No, I mean, I don't have a solid, and this is coming only from myself, so I haven't had the occasion to sit with the department heads and ask them the same question, but it's not, it's a mobile trailer, so it's limited in function in terms of what you'd like to do with it. I mean, it's obviously could be used for storage, anything can be used for storage, but we don't have any concrete plans
To use it.
you know. And, you know, certainly from our perspective, it's not a bad option, right?
Mhm.
Like, when we saw the letter, it was interesting, and we thought that it might be helpful to the community.
Councillor Surratt.
I was thinking that, you probably answered it already, but considering the space and the cutback of the administration building, probably Danny, you're probably alluding to some of that, you know, we might be in dire need for space, for storage, but I guess if you looked at that and you think, hey, then that's okay. It might not look good to what we're gonna have there, have a trailer sitting in the place, or we're making a new building, that's the only thing I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it wouldn't have to be located there either. I mean, it could be located at our facility here on Courthouse Road. It's like I said, like I don't have a strong desire to use it at this time, but other department heads may, like the recreation may have a strong desire to use it. So outside of having a conversation with them, you know, I felt like the letter should be brought to your attention earlier rather than later, but what I'm recommending is that let's go through that process first and then come back.
Yeah.
And then we may say no based on the fact that we're using it, right?
In that case, I'll make the motion one, I guess, move that the staff examine our options for internal use, and if not, you can enter negotiations with the club for the purchase of the trailer.
Second.
We have a mover and a seconder, any discussion? No. All those in favor?
All right.
Against? Motion carried. The next one is a memorandum of understanding, and I believe since 2009, Municipality of Argyle has participated in the Municipal Physical Activity Leadership Program. I assume that's Natalie's position?
It's Natalie turned into Jeanette.
Is Natalie turned into
Okay.
Jeanette, okay.
Julianne turned into Natalie turned into Jeanette.
Okay. So from time to time, we need a memorandum of understanding because the province funds us $25,000, I believe,
Correct.
for benefit, professional development and travel for this director. So we have a CEO's recommendation, and we have a suggested motion.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
This
Discussion?
was that 5-year program before? Initially, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they've changed that. They're going year to year, but you can, I'm not sure why they're doing that. It's a little concerning because you don't have that commitment every year, but I think it's just a change in policy.
That's it. Good,
I don't,
okay.
I've asked a question and I didn't anticipate, people didn't say, well, the funding was just gonna fall off the face of the earth, so it is still a priority of the province, to the best of my knowledge.
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Award of property tax tender, and I believe this is a piece of property that has gone to 3 different tax sales and was never sold. So it went out for tenders, and would you like to explain from there the rest of the process CEO used?
I can do that. Just quickly. So the auction was unsuccessful, so we went to public tender. 2 tenders were received, and the highest bidder that met all the obligations was a bid of $1,800 and was bid by John Vandercrook for the property at 3327 Highway 334 in Lower Wedgeport. The current outstanding balance of the property is $7,338.56. which includes tax and interest of the property and tax sale expenses and interest. So if that's an all-in price. So that is actually a dwelling. So it's an abandoned dwelling, and which is in reasonable shape. However, there was a potential sewer backup, and so people stayed away from it. So for that price, I imagine if there's a backup, it can be repaired, and perhaps the property can come back to rights for us.
And all potential purchasers were advised.
Correct.
Of that throughout the whole processes, whether it be the regular public auction, and I assume this one too, Mr. Cielo, they were advised.
They
of
were.
that as well, so.
Even in the tender document.
Yeah, even if, in order to alleviate any potential liability.
Well, I'll move the council approve the bid, 1,800.
I'll second it. Also, we should note that this property is actually kind of known to be an unsightly issue because it's been abandoned for so long, so fingers crossed, I guess.
Great.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. The next item is the solar COMFIT opportunity. We was awarded 2 projects, and both of them in West Pimlico, at the fire hall and at the West Pimlico treatment plant. And we have a summary of the financials, and I'll let you take over where you're the numbers man, Mr. CEO, and use.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warden. Well, the first question, and I think this question is probably, I think we know the answer, is that whether or not you want to get in the business of COMFIT solar. And so that's the first question we want to identify, because it can still be no. You don't have the obligation to do this. And then the second question is, if the answer is in fact yes to the first question, how many do you want in on? So the reason why the 2 properties of West Pimlico were selected was essentially, and this I find kind of difficult to believe, but the stats don't lie, I guess the sun is better in that area, plus the cost of actually installing it in those locations was slightly better than in other locations that we had selected. Keeping in mind there's a criteria, like we had to own it, or we had to be associated with it, it has to be within an enclosed space, or it has to be on a roof, it has to be, so there was, there were other factors, you couldn't just put it in a field. Otherwise East Kent would have gotten a whole grid probably of solar panels. So there were some criteria that we had to meet. And so we didn't select the area, the organization that is helping us put together this financial situation. They were the ones that did all of these, and these were the ones that were selected by the COMFIT, by the province. So
It went to our green energy
right,
group, that we have a committee.
that's correct. So yeah, so it's not, there was a process, and the process came out with these 2. So just very quickly, the required investment for both projects, one is larger than the other, and one is on a building that we own and one isn't. The first is on the fire hall in West Pimlico. The investment would be this is estimate, $195,000. Again, this would be roof solar, and connected directly to the grid for sale. So this is different than the solar power we're looking at our own admin building. That would be a net zero, a net metering situation where both would be connected to the grid. One of them were actually using the energy, and the other were selling the energy. Okay, so the West Pimlico treatment plant investment is about 83,000. So it's a smaller footprint. The annual expected net income for each project. So the fire hall is 14,400 for 20 years, so total income of 289, and the original investment was 195. And the West Pimlico treatment plant is about $7,100 a year net income, a total income of 142,000 over 20 years. So these things, this would be a 20-year agreement. The solar may outlive 20 years, but the agreement with COMFIT is for 20 years. So there's no guarantee that after 20 that you would be able to use it for the same purpose.
Okay.
So you could, but there's no way to know that right
They
now.
have the option. they have the option to say no anymore.
We don't know whether the program in 20 years will even exist. So, but we will have a 20-year agreement with Nova Scotia Power to sell the energy. Now, the sale of energy this was a competitive process, and it's also less profitable than the wind COMFIT, but the wind COMFIT's no longer available to us, so it's no sense comparing to wind. I guess, I mean, I just said I shouldn't compare. The Wellington project brings us about $41,000 a year. That's the Wellington, the 2 wind turbines. And that's our 1/3 portion, right? This would be 100% portion, so it's considerably different. That being said, the investment for Wellington was approximately $500,000. So anyway, so we have options in terms of where the money is coming from. We can use gas tax, it's a gas tax eligible project, and we can also use reserves. And I would say that either one would be advantageous to the taxpayer because the revenues on the projects exceed the revenues we would otherwise make by holding on to the reserve money. And the gas tax clearly is not intended to be held for investment income, it's intended to be spent. So the gas tax is clearly federal money, so we always consider that a little different. And if it comes out of that, then clearly the revenues, not only would we retain the reserve interest from our reserves that we can use for any purpose, we would also make money on the COMFIT project.
When you look at the total investment profit on the investment over 20 years is not that huge. However, if you use the gas tax, the profits that come on a yearly basis doesn't go back into the gas tax, comes directly, you know what I mean? Like it's almost a way to take the gas tax money and put it in our own, you know what I mean? Like it's, in a sense.
We've done that for the Wellington project.
Yes.
We're getting $41,000
Right.
a year in
Which
profit.
Yeah.
That benefits the taxpayer.
Yes.
But it was federal funds to do that.
Yeah.
We're doing it with the admin building.
Right.
Because the gas tax is used for the net zero, and that will save $25,000 in operating expenses a year. So this would be potentially a third example where we would use gas tax for the purposes of reducing or increasing
Exactly.
revenue
Our own
expense.
revenues. Yes. Well, it's just that when I saw over 20 years, if you're making 94,000, it's not a great big amount, but if we're not using our own money to initially put it out there, then it makes more sense.
Right.
We would use some from reserves, so wouldn't we?
We could use a combination of both.
Yes.
And I mean, we can make that decision at the time that the investment is being made. We don't necessarily have to decide where the money's coming from today, but you know, the fact that you would want to invest in this project is something that the company would require in order to move forward.
And one question I have, would there be any possibility of using infrastructure money that's just been announced for projects like this? Because I read through it quickly on the email and it mentioned stuff about green projects.
I would say that would be one of the many areas that would certainly qualify. Other things that I saw included recreation and other wastewater projects. This one I think is small enough that we would do potentially with our own, and then some of the bigger money, we might get some of the bigger projects like the track and field and airport and other things that might require that kind of funding.
Yeah, okay.
But that's
So,
my recommendation.
Councillor Surratt.
Just a few comments on that, Anna. You probably are aware of this. I'm sure you are. Solar panels, they have a 20-year warranty, so there'll be no maintenance as far as costs. Anything for solar panels that go. The company that's the organization that was in charge of this has other projects, and they're going to try to buy the solar panels in groups. So instead of just buying for West Pubnico and for West Pubnico, they'll purchase for different areas to get the project. So it could be less of a price just to buy the panels, but the price you see there is the top of the scale. If we could save any money by buying as a group, that could be less than it is there now. And is there a deadline on that for this?
I haven't,
That we get that this installed, I forget now.
I haven't received an actual,
Yeah, see, I forgot, they told us, but I forgot.
and, but they've
There's
been,
plenty of time.
they've been kind of pushing a little bit recently, and so I didn't bring it right away to council. It's probably about 3 weeks ago. They were like, okay, can we get moving on this? So, yeah, so,
Are we gonna have to, okay, we're putting one on a building that we don't own, which is the fire hall. Are we gonna have a monthly rental fee for that?
that will be up to them. I mean, obviously, I think, you know, they're being put out to some extent, right? And, you know, they're being quite gracious in doing that. And for liability and other reasons, I would suspect that we'd have a conversation about rental. I would definitely enter openly in that kind of conversation, but we don't have, like, there's not a ton of money being made, so it's not like it's gonna be like a huge inflow of money. But, you know, clearly we wanna do this and to benefit the taxpayers, and, you know, they are accommodating that, so probably should be something.
Give them a grant like they do for the mill, up in Wedgeport. I think Lucien knows they've got a committee set up, and they give them some kind of a grant. And
Yeah.
we're talking to you a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Maybe some place to look at down the road, you know?
The numbers that I put in here anticipated that we would have to pay something.
Okay.
So I did include that in the,
Great.
yeah.
I would like to move that the investment in solar COMFIT project, West Public Water Treatment Plant, be authorized and funded by the gas tax. It says here by reserves, but I prefer to go with the gas tax.
Okay.
Is what I prefer. I don't know if the others agree with that. Because the treatment plant is ours, and I
Mhm.
guess
I'll second the motion.
We've had a lot of discussion. All those in favor?
uh,
Against? Motion carried. And we have a second motion. If somebody would wish to move it, that we can at least start negotiations with West Pimlico Fire Department.
I'll also move that the West Pimlico Fire Department be approached to discuss the possibility of investment in the COMFIT solar project.
And I'll second that one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Next item is Mariner Center 2017-18 deficit funding. And we had a long discussion, I believe, at the last meeting on this.
We did, it wasn't on this though,
This
it was on the future, not the past.
Okay, yes, that's right.
So I apologize, this was missed by us in the discussion around Mariner Center. Excuse me. So so what happens is the Mariner Center has their budget, they approve an amount, we pay that amount, and then they only know what the deficit or surplus is after the audited statements come in. Last year, or I guess the year prior, it wasn't as high as this. It might have been 16 or 18, I can't recall. Anyway, it wasn't as high as this. Actually, it was a third of 37, I think. So it was about $8,000 to $10,000 that we were asked to pay after we paid for the year. My understanding is this year they're having a much better year. I think that has a lot to do with the ice time of the playoffs, and and so there's a lot of optimism for the end of March for the Mariner Center. However, the fact of the matter is that there is a $21,678,000 bill that we received that would have been over and above the original amount we paid last year. So we were billed for 65. So this would put us to 87,000 for the year. And so, and as you know, next year's budget is anticipated at 73. So, I looked at, we did get the chance to analyze the repairs and maintenance and saw nothing there nothing there of a capital nature. It was all operating expenses, because we had seen a pretty big spike in the operating and maintenance expenses. So we require a motion of council to approve these kinds of expenses be in accordance with the agreement. This requires approval.
Councillor LeBlanc?
One quick question. In the suggested motion, you added pending confirmation there's no additional capital expenses included in that figure. Can you kind of elaborate on what
We
you...
confirm that there is no capital amount, so the pending confirmation there's no additional capital expenses, we've done that between the time I prepared this and
I
tonight.
see. So basically, you just had to double check that it is a deficit on just operating.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Is that a motion?
yeah, I'll make the motion.
Do you have a second?
It's not a fun one, but I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Next one, Barrington Recreation Center.
Okay, so I went to a meeting last night where a group from Barrington, basically, it's a community group that got together. They're interested in their active living initiative. So they started thinking about what they can do to improve active living and health in their community. And they've met several times over the last year, and they're kind of discouraged about the fact that they have to drive to Yarmouth. That's where most of the things that they need to do are in Yarmouth. And they, one of the presenters said, I look around, I'm in Yarmouth, I'm at the Mariner Center, and I see a lot of people from Barrington there. So they did some surveys. They worked with Debbie Smith from Recreation and kind of came up with a list of their own kind of priorities as to what residents would like to see more of in their community. So they kind of put this all together as a wish list. And what this group is doing is they're dreaming of coming up with a recreational complex. So they are looking to formulate a business plan as to how to move forward with all of this. They're in the very early stages of all of this. So they didn't have a lot of numbers for us last night. There weren't, costs, those kinds of things. They're really just at the beginning. And throughout this process, one of the people on the committee found a federal grant that she's done some research on. It is called Smart Cities Challenge. So it's almost like a bid.
Mm-hmm.
So you put in your proposal in, and you're bidding for some funding. And you can win between $5 million and $50 million in funding.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step is to put in your proposal to see if it gets accepted, and this summer they will choose who gets accepted. And if you win that part of the bid, you get $250,000, and that $250,000 is to come up basically with a final proposal that you submit in order to try and win the millions of dollars for your project. So they went to their council last night, to Barrington Council, made the presentation. One of the things that they need that will make them stronger as an applicant is partners. Now, we traditionally partner with Yarmouth. That's kind of always been the way we've gone. And they said that they seem to see that the Mariner Center expansion may not be moving forward. So they are kind of jumping on that idea and wondering if we would be interested in supporting their application. So my question was, if we support the application, does it mean we are financially responsible? And they said no. At this point, it's a matter of they're trying to get as many municipalities on board and towns on board for the application as possible. So they're hoping Barrington will be on board, but they won't discuss it until later on in the month. They're hoping to get us as a partner. They're hoping to get Shelburne and Clark's Harbor. So I'm bringing this forward. I don't know if we want to think about it. If you'd like to get more information on it, I can see if I can grab the presentation from the group and have that emailed to you. I think that would be a good idea. You could look through their presentation. But basically, it would be supporting their step one of their application. So if let's say they fit all the criteria and they win the $250,000, it doesn't mean, you know what, it means they probably will come back to us and ask us for money. I'm not gonna lie, like that is probably what they'll do, but it doesn't mean we have to support them. They just need partners to strengthen. They need to say, we've got some people also interested to move forward on this. So they asked me to bring it back to our council to see if it was something you would be interested in. And that, I think, is the gist of what they had to say. So I can ask for the presentation if you would like, have that emailed to you so you can look it over.
Councillor Muse?
Okay, directed to, so who is, you're talking about a group?
Yes. They've registered with joint stocks.
So
They have started the process.
my question is, how, are you part of the group?
No.
How did you get to that?
How did I go to the meeting?
Yeah, how
I
did
got
you
an
get to be
email.
part, huh?
I had an email from a member of the group. There was myself and Councillor Digdon and Councillor D'Entremont were invited.
Okay,
I think I was invited partly, honestly, because
where do you?
I'm on recreation,
Exactly.
and one of the members of the committee is a former colleague of mine. I used to work in Barrington,
Okay.
so
Okay.
they knew that I was on council, they knew I was on recreation, so they invited me in. So I am not on the committee, not whatsoever. I was just there to hear the presentation.
Okay,
At the
so,
meeting.
so, obviously, I mean, that's something that we've kind of heard in the back, that this might be coming along anyway,
Mhm.
but we weren't sure. So, no, I'm kind of surprised when you came up with that, then it's, that they are going ahead. Where would they build? Would they build that right in Barrington?
Well, they talked about that, like I said, they're at very early
Oh, yes,
stages.
I know.
So right now, they've talked about Sherrose Island, where their
Okay, with the
ice surface
ice
is
bit.
right now, possibly connecting because it would help lower costs.
Yes.
But they're not set in stone. They even honestly talked about possibly building in Pubnico.
That's what I heard as well. Okay, that's all my questions.
Councillor Surratt?
Nicole, a couple of things, and maybe if the answer doesn't matter, like, I mean, we're in Yarmouth County. We're in Yarmouth County, of course, our area is, Standard Center and that. Did they mention how many people go to Barrington? How much percentage of our young people, how many kids go there and use their arena? Like, and we knew, or we were told, some figures from years ago was 48% in Yarmouth.
Mhm.
What would that percentage be there?
They didn't have figures. No, they did not.
Certainly would bend me over to one side or the other to, skip there, go over here where we're paying funding
Mhm.
for deficit funding in Yarmouth, certainly, but anyhow,
And I did say that we do pay the deficit, part of the deficit at the Mariner Center. I did explain that. I did explain how, these types of complexes are very expensive, and although they may get the funding in the beginning, eventually it comes to a point where if you are involved in paying deficits. But like I said, very early stages, they're still working things out. This is a matter of trying to get the $250 to put in. their final-
250,000.
Yes, 250,000 to put in their final proposal. So that's what they need basically people on board to support them. to
So
have a
they're just
strong
looking for a letter of support from
They
us
are.
right now. so
I
that
make
they
sure
can get
that I ask the question, it's not a matter of us committing funding, it's not, it's just a matter of thinking about it. So I can get that presentation if everybody would be comfortable with that and have them send that to you
I would rather see the presentation than that
and look
because
it over.
you're sort of
Definitely.
jumping to two places here, it doesn't,
Mhm.
anyhow, I'd like to see.
That's where our municipality could come split, because east of the Argyle River, it's a lot better for us to go to Barrington than it is to Yarmouth, right?
That's right.
It's closer.
That's
They
right.
talked
Like
about
when I
kilometer
get a
wise,
Tim
right?
Hortons crave, I drive to Barrington, not Yarmouth.
Yeah,
Okay, right.
yeah, they talked about the differences in kilometers from the Pubnicos and Argyles. I can't remember exactly, but I was a little bit surprised. It is
Yeah.
certain areas, it's
Yeah.
a lot
It's just
closer.
one, it's just one exit down the highway,
Mhm,
in Barrington.
right.
Okay, we'll move on. Meeting's getting bogged down here now. The next one, I believe Chris is gonna talk on it, the overtime policy amendments.
I tell you, Mr. Warden, it's about to get worse around the bogged down, unfortunately, because we're getting into policies. Before I begin, I just want to make two quick notes. The first is that these two policies are your 7-day notice for approval, so you haven't been presented these yet, but they will be brought to a future meeting for you to actually approve. So for this meeting, it's only for presentation and for review. And for the overtime policy, the conversation is solely around positions and not specific personnel. If you did wish to go into any of that, just a reminder that that's done in camera. So this year we have a goal of reviewing policies in general, but specifically our major personnel policies, overtime being one of them. And just to give you an idea of how the process works internally around personnel policies is that we usually do a review every year, at the beginning of the year. We pick the ones that we want to tackle, and then we do some research, develop the amendment of the policy, and then we have a smaller group of 4 employees that review it, look over it, kind of give their feedback, we make changes, we bring it to a staff meeting where we all review it, every staff member, and then along with the CEO, we make some changes, and then it comes finally to the council table, which is where we're at today. So just to give you an idea of the changes of this overtime policy, a lot of them are housekeeping changes, so practices that we do now that just aren't written or aren't brought up to date. So things around how much time you need to work as overtime before you can begin recording it. Before it just said it needed to be a reasonable amount of time, but now we've set that at 30 minutes, so anything over 30 minutes you can begin recording overtime. Around how you can claim your overtime, before it had to be half days or full days, now it can be hour by hour. It doesn't have to be taken 60 days from being accumulated, it can be taken anytime within the year, and it can be taken for more than 3 days in a row. So those are just practices that we were doing anyway for years and years and years. This policy was, I think, passed in the late 80s, early 90s, the last time it was amended. But the two major changes is one, we've included a payment in lieu of overtime hours section, and that's for 3 specific positions, the IT technologist, the wastewater operator, and facilities maintenance coordinator or position. The reason why they were included solely, those positions in that section, is because they are considered or possibly considered on an on-call emergency basis. So if, for example, a resident in Tuscott has a sewer issue at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night, which may or may not have happened, which means I did to myself, and he calls the sewer operator, he has to attend to that issue right away. He has no other choice because there could be ramifications if it waited until Monday morning at 8:30. So those are and IT technologist and the facilities maintenance coordinator are for the same reasons. Their position includes an on-call emergency component to it, which we felt was the right reason why we included it in that section. And finally, we have a new approval process, I guess, between when the employee requests overtime and how it's approved. We do it electronically now, and we keep track of all of that electronically. That's it for the overtime policy. If there's any questions or comments, you can either ask them now by email or, and like I said, it will be brought back in the future meeting.
Councillor Sweat?
Maybe it's covered here, but if somebody comes, let's say, whether it's COD or where we would be, coming, are they guaranteed, like if they have to be on call, are they guaranteed a 4-hour or a 3-hour? You know, certainly if you leave, come home and you go somewhere, you're there for an hour and a half, and it's around midnight.
Yeah.
So is that covered there? I think that would be something that I would be guaranteed X amount of time, because, you know, if they're gone, you have to just pay your gas. Sometimes you know, if you're only gone a half an hour. Is there such a thing as marked in there that you?
There is, if you look into
Okay.
section 7,
7.
it lists all of the amount of hours that they have there. We did have at some point a section on the minimum amount of hours, but we left that open now because we don't really know how it will work for those. We don't know generally how long a certain situation takes at this point. So we're kind of just entering into the idea of payment in lieu of overtime hours, and once we kind of see how that works, we'll make amendments to the policy based on that.
Right on, just to be fair to these 3 people especially, yeah. Good, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, move on to the fire inspection policy.
So the next item is the fire inspection policy. We do fire inspections. It is municipal responsibility for everything except for a certain group of buildings, in terms of hospitals or schools, those types of buildings. We don't have a formal system right now in policy, so we created a policy that is presented to you based on Municipality of Barrington's policy. They have a fire inspector there, which we use. So we kind of tapped into his experience and his knowledge in creating this policy. You'll see that in the definitions section of it, it explains all of the different groups of occupancies. It also, the next section explains the amount of the time periods that were required to make fire inspection of each of those types of groups. So group A and C's, it's every 3 years. Group A is a little special because it requires, it speaks around the liquor licensing of that establishment, that occupancy. If, for example, a restaurant needs to renew their liquor license before the 3-year period comes up for the fire inspection, they're required to get an up-to-date fire inspection. So we would have to go in earlier than 3 years for that fire inspection. And then that would coordinate the schedule. And then group D, E, and F is every 4 years. A note around that is right now the requirement for those groups, D, E, and F, it's only 5 years, but it seems that the change will be made to every 4 years. So instead of putting 5 years now and then in a year changing it to 4 years, we're just going ahead of the curve, and if it stays at 5, we'll be a year ahead of things. And all of those requirements are kept tracked by a new module to our public works software that we'll be adding on, so it keeps track of all the scheduling and the time requirements. That's it. That's all I have on fire.
Okay. Next one I believe you're speaking on too. Municipality of Argyle Family Advisory Council.
Yes. So this, before I start, is just a draft. You see draft plastered all over it. It's just for information. It's to give you an idea of where we're headed with our youth engagement strategies and thoughts. It's for you to look over and to provide your comments, your feedback either now or at a later date. So you all know that we've, since 2012, been doing some type of youth engagement. We began with groups of students in 3 of the Yarmouth County high schools. We switched over 3 years after that, after following them and getting some input from them. We switched over to more of an informal group of young adults between the ages of 25 and 40, where we bounced ideas off of them. They've made suggestions around recreation programming that we've taken into account. They've came up with our boating guide, our pamphlet on areas to boat and that you can dock your boat and those type of things. So they've been very valuable in getting ideas from and getting a sense of if what we're doing relates and helps them in their daily life. Their input is extremely important. The young adults, between 25 and 40, or young families, they are established here, they're establishing their life here, they work here, they have children in our communities, but it's the hardest group to engage. They're the busiest people. When they do have time to themselves, they don't want to spend an hour or two in a meeting. So we're trying.
I know all about it.
Yeah, right. Sure. And we all,
Even the 56-year-old.
of course. So we're trying to move and adapt to that. The group that we had now, the informal group, we met here and there, maybe quarterly, 3 times a year at different locations, sometimes at the municipal office, sometimes at a restaurant. And it worked for that time being, because they were giving new ideas, we were giving them ideas, but we found that as time was going on, their engagement and the input was diminishing, it was increasing. So we decided to change gears and create something a bit more structured and a bit more important, and we're creating it, trying to create it similar to the ARC. So it would be an advisory council to you, council, that would provide a bridge between council's work and municipal staff's work and the daily lives of young adults and families in our municipality. So we would create it with a member from each district, including 1 or 2 council members, some municipal staff as support, as admin support. And it would really be to get together to create, in a sense, priorities for that age group or for those, for that target age group and input, some things that are important to them. and then bring it to you and have them engaged in the process of making your own priorities, or at least bringing those topics to the forefront. So the document that you have in front of you explains the composition of the Family Advisory Council. We chose not to call it the Youth Council because we found people felt that youth meant younger children or young teenagers, like it's still in the high school age. So we wanted to make sure that it really spoke to the young families and young adults in our municipality. So it started off, it's a smaller group of municipal staff, which includes myself, Scott, and Charlene. It started off with Brenda and then transitioned to Charlene, and we're the ones that are kind of putting it together along with some input from other staff members. Is there any questions?
Such a great idea, Michael. This is great. Really, very good job.
Very good, Chris. We'll move on. Next one is Unsightly Premises Committee. I was back in December 11th. We had a forum at the Knights of Columbus Hall
That's correct.
with 22 people that took part, and this is the final report, and you want to give us the highlights.
It is. So we did present the final report of this forum back in December, maybe January, after we actually held the forum, but now we're moving forward with the next steps that were listed towards the end of the report. There was a plan that highlighted 3 different components to what we would like to do. So right now we're acting on number 2, which is renewing the policies and the bylaws associated with unsightly premises, but also creating a committee that includes council members and community members that would allow specifically the bylaw enforcement officer and the director of public works a forum to explain the situations that arise in the municipality and have more than one person review that information and make a decision together collectively. Because what we're finding is difficult with unsightly premises is everyone sees it differently. And one person will make a different decision based on what they see and what they hear than the other. So if there's more than one person making that decision and you can talk about it, we might make better decisions based on each case. So we're going to bring forward a document like the Family Advisory Council document, which explains the composition of a unsightly premises committee, how it's composed, how it would work, and what they would tackle, I guess, in the given year. So I just wanted to bring that up to let you know that was coming in the future. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, we're ready to talk about that now or later.
Do we have any questions on that? Guess we're all good for now, Chris? Thank you. The next item is correspondence and for information. For anybody watching, if you go on our website and there's attachments to all these, for example, like there's the Western Counties Regional Library minutes, there's Hail a Ride program information, which we'll be discussing at our next joint council with the other 2 councillors. It's a rural public transportation solution, so we haven't even started discussing it yet. And there's like letters to the Department of Highways from Lake Vaughan. There's any number of them, and I'll ask at this point if there's any councillors that would like to talk, or a staff member on any one of these items before we move on. Our solicitor would like to speak on one.
Simply that the Nova Scotia House of Assembly amendment on the electoral boundaries, the provisions were, I believe, withdrawn, or will not be going before the House until such time as there's a reconsideration of them. So if any residents are reviewing that, you should bear that in mind, that those were the proposals, but news came out this morning, well, as a result of appearances before the Legislative Amendments Committee yesterday, that it may not go ahead in its current form based on the Fédération Acadienne as well as CAPEB and Société Acadienne Claire involvement yesterday before, just so that the residents are aware.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to touch on any of the letters that we
Could I make just a
received?
quick note, Mr. Warden?
Yes, you sure can.
I just want to remind council and also the public that our webcam program is taking applications this month from the 1st of April to the 30th of April. Just a reminder for not-for-profit organizations or businesses related to tourism, it's a program up to 2 webcams per year. We would fund the initial installation cost of $2,000, and they would pay the ongoing operational cost of that webcam. So just a reminder that the applications are being accepted now.
As well as our scholarship, can we mention that too?
Sure.
Our scholarship, the scholarship that the municipality gives, I believe the deadline is May 1st, and information is on the website, so that's a deadline that's coming up for high school students.
Okay, I would only like to mention one. The Nova Scotia press release to do with high-speed internet funding of $120 million, and they're striving to get 95% coverage for the province. Hasn't been announced how the money will be distributed or how or to who. Hopefully this will make a difference. I don't know if 120 million will go very far, but it's a big province. Anyhow, it's a first step, so I just thought I'd mention that.
If I may, I suppose I could have added it to my counselor update, but I visited Eckel Wedgeport's grade 5 class this week they were doing a section on politics. So I went in to basically educate them on the 3 levels of government, and I polled them what their biggest municipal issue was, and slow internet was the answer. And I'm not making that up one bit. They all basically said, I explained to them what we do as politicians and what we control, and what all levels of government do, and basically they mentioned that certain places, Pigneys Point, for example, they mentioned had very slow internet, and Xbox One and whatnot was difficult to do, and we should be working on that. And I had quite a laugh because I told them it wasn't the first time I heard that. I told them we're doing what we can.
Okay, exhausted that. We'll move on. We have no financial requests tonight. Do we have any topics for the next meeting or notices of motions by councillors? Seeing none, we'll go to question period. Do we have any questions from the audience or from Facebook? Nothing from Facebook? Yes, we have a,
Oh, sorry.
No?
Okay.
you're up.
I had 2 questions. I understand that the YARC has requested funding from the municipality, and that the YARC was told that the municipality of Argyle would not be making a financial contribution. I attended the YARC General AGM a week and a half ago, and they gave their financial statements, and they listed the municipalities who had given financial donations, and it was stated that Argyle didn't, so I was just wondering why.
And this would have been how long ago?
A week and a half ago.
We haven't had no requests from that part.
I can only presume that that's for operating fund requests.
I didn't hear it specified for what it was particular, but they just said incoming as in fund, as in assets, under the assets, and it was just made that donations were given from, and they mentioned the different municipalities and the town and so on, and then it's just stated that they had received 1,000 from municipality of Clare or wherever, and that they had received, I don't know what, from the town, and that unfortunately the municipality of Argyle did not send forth a donation, and so I was just wondering why.
That would be the only request we would have received, just for to the best of our recollection from a staff perspective, is the grants to organizations request that we would have received, which would have been last year, and that would have been 0. And I think, I can't speak for council in terms of why, but I think that I can start by saying that we received more grant requests than we have money to disperse. I can also confirm that we've not received any request for capital because they're looking at changing locations.
Yes, yeah.
And we have not received any official requests from a capital perspective. In terms of why council, I mean, I think, best of my recollection, I remember that we had put funds aside for the Conseil des Arts, which was the organization that does a lot of programming for the school Herr Modis theater in Tuscan. So I know that there was some support that was given there, and if I can, and correct me if I'm wrong, Warden, but I believe that was, the choice was that we knew that particular theater would not receive financial support from the municipality or town of Yarmouth. Therefore, we had allocated funds to that theater instead, and that's the best of my recollection. Is there any?
Okay.
Nothing I would add except, like you said, we have a lot of grant requests for very little money, and each councillor has a sheet with all the requests, and we have to say who gets what, right? And nobody gets nowhere near what they're asking for. And at the end of the day, most of us just pick organizations within our municipality because we don't even have nowhere near enough money to cover our local requests. So I think that's how they probably ended up with zero. So, yeah.
On my behalf, I know there was around 287,000 requested just for our municipality. And, you know, and from some other organizations outside the municipality. And we had 75,000, was it, Anna, to give, so. So we try to give, myself as a councillor, try to give in here first, in our municipality, and if there's anything left, which there wasn't. That's my reason.
And just to add to it, that's like grants or donations, I guess, but we've never been formally approached to do any capital funding, like, or even from a regional perspective. We've never talked about I mean, not saying we would, not saying we wouldn't, it's just, it's not a conversation we've ever had either. Correct?
That's true. We may have in the past, but in terms of what's happening now with the ARC, we've not received any.
No.
Okay, thank you. And the second question was about your policy, about overtime policy. Do you have policy, this is perhaps, some people may think too personal a question, but as a municipal and your staff and your employees, are they unionized?
No.
Okay, because I was wondering the policies, where I know other municipalities are, so that are unionized, so I just wanted to ask the difference.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
the unionized employees would follow a collective agreement.
Yes, yes, so
Yeah.
that's just what, okay, thank you.
Okay, that's question period, I guess. There was nothing from Facebook, Scott? Okay. I guess we're gonna go to an in-camera session.
Slow move to in camera.
Second.